Hello, my name is Steve Carello, Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Okta, and you're listening to the Meet Your Okta Identity Expert podcast, a series of podcasts where we bring Okta's professional service experts to share their experience and knowledge of how they've managed our customers' identity in today's online world. At Okta, I focus on Microsoft integrations, and I'm one of our subject matter experts for helping our customers when integrating Microsoft products and services with Okta. For today's podcast, we're going to discuss integrating with Office 365, common use cases and challenges, and how Okta is enabling customers to successfully overcome these challenges and deploy Office 365 to their organizations, helping to drive their workforce and business. We've brought one of our experts in this area to discuss this topic for today, John Cokkinias, Senior Technical Consultant with Okta. Hey, John, welcome.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. So before we dive into our topic, can you tell us a little about yourself, your background, and how you came to Okta?
Absolutely. I've been an IT professional for almost 18 years now. My main areas of focus have been on Microsoft technologies, on-premises server technologies, as well as cloud services. I've spent much of my career supporting AD environments or Active Directory environments, and I've developed and supported an on-premise identity management solution, an HR as a master solution with a homegrown HR system, Active Directory, Exchange, Link. And after years of mostly on-premises work with highly customized identity solutions that are difficult to maintain, they're difficult to keep up to date, I started looking around for alternatives to this, and I came across Okta and quickly realized the flexibility that moving to the cloud offered. And I was excited to get the opportunity to come work for the industry leader in the identity as a service space.
That's great. Thanks, John. So one-offs and highly customized solutions can definitely offer some challenges. Tell us a bit about yourself. When you're not helping customers solve complex business technology problems, what do you do outside of work to keep your mind sharp?
Yeah, I live in sunny Tampa, Florida with my wife and son, and we're always enjoying anything outdoors, biking, the beach, mostly soccer games every weekend, the pool. Yes, the pool all year round. And I also enjoy taking the Jeep on some off-road adventures.
Well, that's nice. So beach, biking, and off-road jeeping. I think I'm just getting a little jealous here, John. So, can you tell us a little bit more about the number and types of customers that you've helped?
Yeah, of course. I've worked with customers ranging in size from small businesses to corporate size to enterprise size with, varying market verticals, nonprofit, technology, healthcare, financial, retail, just to name a few. I definitely enjoy the large enterprise implementations and the complexity that brings along with it. But I also enjoy working closely with those small IT teams as they offer unique challenges as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's definitely probably one of the most rewarding parts of what we do as IT professionals is the people and customers we get to work with on a daily basis and then also help them be successful. So, John, what would you say makes you the Okta identity guru that our customers trust?
Yeah, I'm very passionate for the technology that we're working with, and I enjoy helping customers be successful. And I think that really shines through and helps establish myself as well as Okta as a trusted partner and not just another vendor for the customer to have to deal with. And secondly, you have to know the subject matter, and I have deeply technical and relevant conversations with customers, trying to understand both their technical and business challenges, and then collaborate on how to best use Okta to help them be successful in meeting those challenges.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, having a passion for technology and then also for customer success will definitely shine through. And then also having those technical chops definitely puts you over the top. So why do you like helping customers with cloud challenges and or their in the identity space?
I really enjoy helping customers solve their complex problems, finding solutions that maybe they haven't thought of previously, that comes from just experience with the experience that we bring of already been through this, working with lots of other customers. So, and it's my goal with every project that when the project's completed, I know that I'm passing on my knowledge to the customer so they're ready to take on and tackle those future challenges on their own without the need to come back to, whether it be Okta support or have to come back to me for more help in the future.
So a lot of organizations making the move to the cloud, and more specifically Office 365, I mean, I know there tend to be a lot of moving parts. And, to me, it only makes sense that there has to be some sort of process that helps, guide, folks along that journey to adopting Office 365. So, that being said, what kind of process do you use when beginning a new project with customers?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our methodology that we use for our projects here at Okta is pretty unique, and it's really designed to decrease that time to value for the project by preparing the customers to be engaged and work with us in blocks of time. So, we start off projects with planning, kickoff meetings, and that those include everyone on the team from the beginning, the sales folks from the beginning of the sales cycle to the project team at Okta to the project team at the customer. And what we're trying to do is identify risk to the overall project timeline. Maybe it's a resource availability problem. People have vacations scheduled, holidays. We'd like to know that up front so we can plan for it. Change freeze times. When are the best times that we can actually enact change on the environment? And then from that, we can begin to develop a schedule and a plan. And what we like to do and plan for is blocks of time for configuration sessions. So we like to try to at least get 4-hour blocks of time where we can work with the customers. And this includes, some prep time for everyone involved in the meeting, the actual working time of the meeting, and then some time at the end for answering follow-up questions, documenting what was discussed during those sessions. And then, after we go through all these steps and the work's completed, we ensure that all the knowledge transfer has occurred to the customer, like we stated earlier, right? We want them to be able to kind of move on their journey on their own, and all the items are completed in the SAL. And then we're kind of put the technology in the hands of the customer at that point.
Got it. Thanks. So you mentioned that part of the process involves some discovery work. So, what questions do you ask as part of that discovery process when trying to understand and ultimately solve customer pain points?
Sure. I like to begin every project with asking the customers, a few questions off first. What are the issues that you're facing today? What are those pain points for you? And then the next one is, where do you want to be at the end of the engagement? What do you see as success for that engagement? And then more specifically for an Office 365 integration, questions such as, how are you managing your users, your groups, your licenses, your roles? What are the current SSO strategy do you have? What is your MFA process today, if you have one? Where are the users accessing the service from? Whether it be from on the corporate network, from any of your mobile remote workforce, where are they accessing Office 365? How are they accessing? And then, what clients are being used? Modern authentication clients, basic legacy authentication clients, whether they be mobile apps, desktop thick clients. That really lets us get a handle on what users are accessing from where and how they're accessing. From that, then you can determine where can Okta help to eliminate these issues and pain points, and how can we accomplish their goals.
Yeah. I mean, those are all great questions. I mean, basically, you're surveying where they are today and where they want to, or rather need to be, and then mapping a way to help them get there. Um, So John, can you also talk about a customer example of how you help them overcome challenges and be successful?
Yeah, there's a lot to mention, but we have a customer that was utilizing Microsoft Active Directory Federation Services, or ADFS, for single sign-on to Office 365. This setup increased complexity by adding multiple servers, server farms, hardware load balancers, firewall rules to an on-premise network that the customer is really trying to get away from.
So a traditional Microsoft deployment includes a fair bit of on-premises infrastructure and configuration.
Yeah, they do. And this is the most common complaint that we have from customers, is with this need for ADFS deployments to support single sign-on into Office 365. And also, a lot of customers don't possess the workers with the skill set to maintain this infrastructure.
So John, do many customers find that they have to deploy ADFS for just Office 365?
Yeah, this was definitely a recommendation from Microsoft when users were moving to the cloud in order to support that SSO for Office 365. They were required to deploy and maintain ADFS, and we found that a lot of customers had deployed ADFS just for Office 365 alone, and we're not using it for any other purposes.
Wow. So ultimately, what solution did you develop for this customer to solve the problem of complexity and to reduce on-premises IT footprint?
Yeah, so we were able to migrate the Office 365 Federation from ADFS to Okta, and this allowed us to decommission all of the ADFS servers, the proxy servers in the environment. Then we forced all users of Office 365 web applications, Office thick clients, to provide an additional authentication factor when accessing the service from off of the corporate network. So here we could protect and prevent unauthorized access, even when the user's credentials may have been phished or compromised, which, as we know, happens a lot. Then we utilize Okta sign-on policies to prevent those connections from clients that don't support MFA. And this allowed us to prevent those older basic legacy authentication clients from connecting to Office 365.
Wow, that's great. So it sounds like you were able to help customers secure their environment more by using multi-factor authentication, and then you took it a step further, right? You were able to basically block any legacy client that didn't support MFA.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So kind of one without the other isn't really going to help you much, as any legacy clients can't provide that second factor during authentication.
Got it. Yeah. So, in addition to your previous customer example, what are some other benefits of Okta that can help customers be successful when moving to Office 365?
Yeah, so what we can provide for them: MFA out of the box connections, MFA for Office 365 based on network locations. So, like we were talking about in the previous example, you're on network, no MFA maybe is needed. You're from a trusted location, and when you're not coming from an on network trusted location, then we're going to prompt for MFA. Okta offers an array of MFA options. Mobile push notifications, time-based one-time passwords, hardware, software tokens with one-time password, biometrics. And we also offer the contextual access controls. So we can make determinations and allow access, deny access, step up access to multi-factor based on the client that they're using, whether it could be a web browser, it could be, another modern auth capable application, Exchange Active Sync. We can also determine the platform that they're coming from. It's a Windows device, it's an iOS device, an Android, Mac OS. And then we can also make determinations based on device trust to ensure that non-trusted company devices can't access the service. Another great feature is behavior detection. The impossible travel or Superman scenario, where maybe a user logs into their email from California and the next authentication is from, Romania, right? So we know that it's impossible for the user to move from one location to another. So we'll step up and prompt them for another factor of authentication in that scenario. Um, we can also ensure that password spraying attacks don't lock out users. So we'll soft lock out those users within Okta without affecting their backend Active Directory credentials. And then, like we talked about before, we can deny access from specific network locations.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic. So I have to ask, right? So we've been talking about reducing complexity. We've been talking about shrinking that IT footprint on premises. And, one word keeps coming up, which is ADFS. And I know a traditional Microsoft approach for a single sign-on for Office 365 is to deploy ADFS. Can you talk more about what that typically looks like and how Okta can help?
Yeah, what we typically see when we go to a customer that has an existing ADFS deployment is a very complex and high server count environment. So we'll see a minimum of 2 servers for an ADFS farm, 2 servers for a web application proxy farm, both of those farms sitting behind a hardware load balancer. And that's really just for a single site. So if we're talking about achieving site resiliency, we can multiply those server requirements times 2. Not to mention, maybe it's a complex deployment. There could be SQL farms that are needed as well. Customers also need Azure AD Connect for provisioning to Office 365. Generally 2 AD Connect servers is what we see, one for primary and one for standby purposes. And then you have your common overhead power. You have to manage the uptime and the maintenance, the patching of these servers, the complex configurations, managing the security, firewall rules, SSL certificates, just to name a few of those. And then if we want to add ADFS or we want to add MFA to ADFS, that requires additional servers to host maybe a Microsoft MFA server solution or an additional subscription to another MFA provider to protect those ADFS integrated applications with multi-factor.
Wow. Yeah. So it's funny, hearing all these, particular points about those traditional Microsoft ADFS deployments, kind of brings back to my recollection what I heard recently where, they say people use ADFS because it's free, but then it's free like a puppy, right? So you get all of those, additional costs that come with having a puppy that you don't really realize when you first get that puppy. So, definitely, all those costs will definitely outpace any kinds of front end or fund savings.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of hits close to home. My son's been begging for a free puppy lately, so absolutely understand that one. Yeah. Okta's pre-integrated OAN chiclets and out-of-the-box features for Office 365. You can completely and securely eliminate ADFS and all of its overhead that goes with it and reduce your overall complexity in your environment.
Awesome. So John, we've also talked about Azure AD Connect. Where does Azure AD Connect fit with Office 365?
Yeah, Azure AD Connect is used to sync customers' Active Directory credentials to Office 365 so that as users come and go from Active Directory, those changes are reflected in Office 365. One challenge with AD Connect is the synchronization lag, meaning if a user is changed in Active Directory on premises, by default, the customer wouldn't see those changes reflected in Office 365 for upwards of 30 minutes. This definitely introduces a risk, especially with user deactivations on premise. When a user is deactivated, they still could have access to Office 365. And with Okta, we offer granular deprovisioning, and we offer 3 different options. So we can block the sign-in so that the user can't access Office 365. We can block the sign-in and remove their license, which means that their mailbox will be soft deleted from Exchange Online. And then we can also block the sign-in and remove the license after a grace period. Maybe we want to wait 30 days to ensure that the user's really gone. They're not a rehire, something to that effect. And so that definitely gives us a lot of flexibility when managing those identities and those licenses.
Okay, so it's not really just about single sign-on, but we're also talking about, lifecycle management here.
Yeah, so Okta's integration with Office 365 gives us the ability to, like you mentioned, not only single sign-on, but manage the users and those identities inside the Office 365 service.
Oh, that's great. So, John, what would you tell our listeners today who want to get started with integrating Office 365 with Okta?
Yeah, I think one thing would be that Okta offers organizations at any stage of their journey. Maybe they're just starting the move to the cloud. Maybe they've already integrated with Office 365. Anyone can benefit by integrating with Okta, and we've helped customers in all those scenarios in between. We've also helped customers lower their overall total cost of ownership, and also realize a faster time to value with Okta because it is so much less complex to deploy without all of the need for all these on-premise server deployments. And really, in the end, we help customers meet their goals of reducing their footprint, whether it be all on-premise. Maybe they have an infrastructure as a service deployment in the cloud. We can help eliminate all of that server environment that they have.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks, John. So in closing, I'd like to summarize some of the items we've learned from John today. With Okta, companies can move to Office 365 faster with Okta's pre-integrated out-of-the-box features and functionality. Okta can also help reduce on-premises infrastructure like ADFs and Azure AD Connect and reduce IT complexity and costs associated with hosting on-premises infrastructure. Okta can help companies secure their Office 365 deployment using MFA, contextual access, and behavior detection. And last but not least, Okta helps customers successfully adopt and implement Office 365. John, thank you again for joining with us today and sharing some of your experiences and advice.
Sure. As always, Steve, great talking with you. And it's been a pleasure. And I think next time we should host a podcast from the beach.
Definitely. We'll jump in the Jeep. Awesome. Thanks. So to our audiences, thank you for joining us. And be sure to stay tuned for another session of Meet Your Okta Identity Experts podcast.